And we are back, people. What is up? Going over the second day of joint practice with the Falcons before the preseason game, which is on Friday. Definitely an interesting day. It seemed like the first team O specifically really struggled, mainly the offensive line. So we'll have to get into that. We'll go over like certain injuries that are kind of holding the team back. Looks like Craycraft in the orange jersey makes sense. He's had a great camp, and I'm pretty sure yesterday he was clearly they saw him as the best player getting the orange jersey, but he was dominant out there. Dolphins also signed Mike Harley Jr. I see him as a camp body. He's like a explosive slot type. I don't really think he makes an impact on the roster, but that's kind of where I see that at right now. And then we'll go through some of these notes and get into, see if people have questions about certain things. But yeah, looks like the Falcons defense gave the Dolphins offense, specifically first team away, and there were some fights today too. The defense came out and played physical. They were kind of starting some fights out there, which, I mean, honestly, we don't need to be fighting, but I kind of like the physical tone that they're setting. We definitely need that on the defensive side of the ball. But Falcons defense came out. Trey Waddle doesn't have another banged up season. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It seems like it's just a minor injury, and to be fair, like, last year was the first time really Waddle missed any time. So I don't think I feel like people are kind of like, he gets to get injured again, but I don't think it's like a guaranteed thing like some people think. But yeah, hopefully he can get back to 100%. Like, it seems like the Dolphins have a lot of minor injuries right now, which is I think injuries is the most important thing holding this team back. Like, the offense struggled today, and I think it really just has to do with obviously the O-line struggled, but a lot of them aren't even playing, like Armstead, Isaiah Wynn. Brewer went out with an injury today, which we'll go over, which sucks. Hopefully that's not too serious. It's a hand injury. And then, yeah, really the only healthy O-lineman start you have is Austin Jackson, and then the other guys that are healthy are kind of fighting for starting spots. So O-line needs to stay healthy. It's absolutely imperative. We'll get really deep into the O-line as this goes on, but Falcons D came to play in this opening red zone period. Some big hits, disciplined in their fits, giving minimal ground, and they had a sack and two tackles for short a gain. Tua did have a scramble throw to Craycraft throw that was pretty, and Jonnu just now scored. So it looked like they were struggling to get even positive plays, which it is practice, and this is the time to work out those quirks. And you have to think McDaniel's not showing his entire bag in these joint practices too, which also plays a part. And then you have the offensive linemen with their injuries, and you're really trying to test them. Get them up to speed. And really how I'm looking at the offensive line right now is the Dolphins will still have whether they should add more. I think they should be adding more to the offensive line. Try to trade if you can and find someone good. There's really not that much on the open market, so you would have to make a trade, but it always takes two to tango. You can't just say, hey, trade for James Daniels, even though that would be great from the Steelers. Maybe if they trade for Ayuk, they want to clear some cash, and they'll do that. But when it comes to O-line, I think they're still going to be a great offense. But if they want to see the consistency this offense should have, they really should be upgrading that O-line room, at least depth-wise. Because I think if the O-line stays fully healthy the whole season, they should be overall fine, good enough. They have good pieces around them. McDaniel knows how to scheme to help them out. Tua gets rid of the ball very quickly. The receivers get to their spot very quickly. So they do their best to really help out the offensive line group. But things are not always going to roll perfectly around them. Not everyone's going to always have perfectly great games. They're still going to be a top offense, but it's really going to hurt them in some of those bigger things. Is Brooks better than Baker? I haven't heard much about him. Yeah, I'm a big Jordan Brooks fan. I think Jordan Brooks is going to be the second most important player on the Dolphins defense this season after Ramsey, just with how important his spot is in this system. Yeah, I think he's quite good. I think he's a decent amount better than Baker. And he just returned from injury, so because he had a little minor injury, missed a few practices, but before his injury, he was really, really shining in those early training camp practices and OTAs from all the reports and stuff like that. It looks like second team had pretty good days today though, second team offense, second team defense. They went out there, got the job done. Skyler and Mike White still fighting for that QB2 job. It seems pretty even right now. Skyler kind of had an up and down day from everything I've seen. Some of the guys that stood out are players like Jalen Wright. It seemed like he had some impressive runs, hitting jump cuts, running in full head of steam into collisions, playing with a lot of power. Definitely not afraid of some contact. We also got a Chris Brooks touchdown, finds the lane behind Hayes, and Cotton for a 5-yard rushing touchdown. Nice to hear Brooks' name's mentioned. I feel like Brooks hasn't gotten a ton of mention this training camp, but really, if he wants a chance to make the roster, he has to show up in the preseason, which he did last year. So we'll see how that works out. But right now, I kind of have Brooks penciled in as like a practice squad guy, if they can get him there, which I think they have a decent chance. Mike White is hot with the Falcons blitz, fires the stick to Smythe behind a super strong anchor from Sean Harlow to give him time, but the pass is dropped. Seems like the Falcons brought a lot of pressure, blitzes, and it just gave the O-line some trouble. Everyone else was a little inconsistent too, like the receivers, quarterbacks weren't playing their best game, but it really seemed like the O-line was which really caused most of the problems today, which is where most people have. It's the weakest position on the team, let's be real. I mean, every team's going to have weak positions, specifically the interior O-line. If Brewer is like seriously injured, the Dolphins need to find someone to fill in that spot because Brewer is going to be vitally important being out there at the center spot because that just messes up everything. Because then like Liam has to go in, and then you're also losing guard depth, and he also would potentially have to play guard in certain situations if Isaiah Wynn's healthy or not. It just really hurts. Seems like Bijan Robinson had a big day against the Dolphins. Defense had multiple touchdowns. Falcons first team-O had a pretty solid day. It seemed like it was more of a battle though. Like the Dolphins offense really struggled, but Dolphins first team D versus Falcons first team-O was pretty back and forth. They had their moments and it got very chippy. Several fights on the field. Storm Duck had a nice PBU. And Malik Washington, it seemed like Malik Washington was one of the players that day had two big plays. Like there was only a few big plays for the Dolphins offense today, and Malik Washington had two of them. He had like a 30-yard play and another one that could have potentially been a big play. One from Skyler, one 20-yard out to Mike White. And I'm excited to see Malik. I think he's going to go a lot of looks in the preseason. If you look at the receiver room, like he's going to get so much look. I'm so excited because I love Malik Washington. As you guys know, I'm very excited to see because Tyreek, Waddle, Beckham, none of those guys are going to play in the preseason. Like Ezukanma and Barrios is banged up. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Craycraft and like Malik Washington see like early reps in those games and even some late reps for Washington too. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he sees work with a lot of the teams. So definitely someone I'm going to watch in the preseason because I want to see him in action. He's getting, I feel like more and more promotion from, the fans every single time. Do you place bets during the season? Yeah, last year was like the first year I really started placing some bets. I actually did pretty well, especially towards the end of the season when I got like a feel for things. But yeah, bets are pretty fun. I don't try to overdo it, but it is fun to do on like games where you don't have a ton of stake in it and you just want to make it a little more exciting. It's been a rough start for the first team offense. Pressure, check downs. We had one high throw from Tua to Craycraft who was open. Jody Fortson had a drop. Just all out of sync for the first team offense. It just seemed like pressure was the big issue though. And hopefully when the first team offense is fully healthy in real games, the first, like last year, man, like the only real healthy game where the five starters actually played was the Broncos game and they put up 70. But the rest of them, like when they had 4 out of 5 of the starters, the O-line played well. But once you started going below to 4 to 5, the O-line like really fell off. So that's why I wanted to add some more pieces. I understand why interior O-line was one position they avoided because I do know McDaniel just doesn't value it as highly and he knows he can scheme to help it out. But it still limits the offense in certain ways. And I just think it puts more pressure on players like Tua, the receivers, which sucks. Dolphins always needed a third option, so Washington was an elite draft pick. Yeah, I love Malik's one of my favorite draft picks. He was one of my favorite players before the Dolphins even draft. I spent a lot of time in the draft, especially because I think Odell will technically he's going to be their third option this season. But I think Malik will be one of the main slot options by the end of the season because Odell and River give you reps on the outside that you desperately need once Waddle and Tyreek can be moved around a little bit because Tyreek and Waddle can play anywhere. But Odell and Craycraft are the guys who will play outside when they want to move them inside. And then Malik can be like a main slot. And I think he can really feast there. But yeah, that's for that update. What else do we got here? Seemed like one of the only positive plays was literally like Tua found Julian Hill for, I think I have this video. Let me find it. It was like a little dump off swing to Julian Hill. Yeah, I found it right here. Let me throw this up. Obviously, some great quality. But right here, Hill leaks out. I like seeing this stuff. Like, even though this is nothing crazy, this is something the Dolphins offense just didn't do enough of last year, especially to tight ends. Like, they gave some dump offs to running backs, but like, how many times last year did The Dolphins run, these deep drops, try to find something downfield. Someone just comes in unblocked. So Tua makes the correct decision to just get this stumped off. All the other routes are much farther down the field, and then that creates all this space. And Hill looks pretty smooth moving right there. I feel like Hill didn't look as comfortable last year as a receiving threat, but as the year went on, it looked more and more comfortable out of him. And yeah, want to see that from Julian Hill, because I think Julian Hill is a guy that will make this roster. Ramsey had a flag, which is fine. I mean, I'm not worried about Ramsey at all. Keon Smith, I think, got some work at left tackle today. Keon Smith has been going around. Keon Smith has been doing work at guard. I know Keon Smith can be like a nice swing tackle, play left, right tackle, and feel pretty good about him. But he's been getting more and more work at guard. It looks like he had a nice kick out block on a throw from Tua to Achane. Devon hit the crease and had a nice head of steam in the second level. Dolphins' run defense was very good yesterday, but today they struggled to kind of slow down Bijan Robinson. They were hitting things with more conviction, but it's nice to see them battling out there. Elijah Campbell continues his strong camp. Another beautiful pass breakup crossing route type thing. Do you think we'll win the division this year? I mean, there's a lot of outside factors. I think if the Dolphins stay healthy, they're the best team in the division, like talent-wise. Obviously, I think the Bills could give them trouble because they just struggled to beat the Bills, but I feel like this is their best chance to do it in a very, very long time. I would lean yes. Like if I had to put odds on it, I think they're actually would be the favorites, but the Bills could still very well. I think the Jets have a chance, but I'm not as confident as some people. Some people think the Jets are the best team in the division. I don't agree with that. Cater with a leaping pass breakup. Cater continues his strong camp. Dolphins did not get much going in pass or run game today. Like their run game was getting shut down. And I think that just has to do with up front the O-line, especially when you got all those backups in. Cam Brown and Isaiah Mack burst through the line for a tackle for loss. Isaiah Mack I don't really see sticking around, but Cam Brown, interesting player that special teams guy, has an interesting skill set compared to some of the other linebackers in the room. I wonder if what role he could play. He could be someone out of that linebacker group that I could see maybe either cracking the end of the roster or be like a practice squad candidate. Very lengthy, very athletic, and most of his, I think he could play Sam, which the Dolphins don't have a ton of Sam guys on the team. And Brown, most of his experience has come from special teams. Looks like they didn't really, I don't think they hit anything deep today. It looks like Tua had Craycraft on one deep ball. Like the only really deep ball attempt they took in like teams and stuff was one to Craycraft, but it was just like barely out of his reach. So that's unfortunate. Makes sense because, I mean, usually you're not hitting Craycraft on deep verticals. It's not really his game. And, maybe you got to adjust from that speed because usually he's throwing them to Reek or to Waddle. Defense really swung the pendulum back. They started heating up, start stuff in the run. Jonathan Harris burst through for a sack. Jonathan Harris, I think he's on that second team D-line on that unofficial roster. He's someone who has a chance to make that roster if they keep 6 in that defensive tackle room, like him, Gallimore potentially fighting for a spot. Because I think they probably keep Benito Jones and Tier Tard, obviously. And it depends if they want to keep Deshaun Hand as well. Those guys are kind of fighting at the end of the defense tackle roster spot. Bijan with an impressive 10-yard touchdown down the middle. Next play, Duke Riley comes screaming through for a second tackle for the loss for the day. And I even saw some quotes like the defensive guy said it wasn't their best day, but it wasn't their worst day either. But you just keep battling out there, just trying to get better, those types of things. I don't think people should overreact to any of this stuff in either direction, positively or negatively. It's always nice to see. I feel like really what you take away from training camp is like individual players that are sort of towards the end of the roster or they're like fighting for spots. Like how do they respond to things? And then you get to see like how coaches see them. So like we can understand like who will make the roster, how they feel about them. We get to see these interviews and you can kind of read between the lines with some of the things that the coaches are saying about specific players. Johnny Smith had a nice touch on a rip from Mike White. White threw it with anticipation of the window. It seemed like this was one of Mike White's stronger days. I feel like the second team and third team offenses got things going. And I know Skyler had been having a better camp. I don't think today was his best day, but it was interesting. We're talking about practice. Craycraft with the key block on a Jeff Wilson touchdown run going wide. Makes sense. Craycraft's block concluded with a pancake. He's probably our best blocking receiver for sure. Actually, not even probably. Aaron Brewer, yeah, so I want to talk about this. He went inside with the training staff. He had a hand injury, it seemed like, but he did come back out on the field later. He didn't practice, but he came back out and watched. So I guess that's a good sign. So we don't know how serious it is or not. It is a hand injury, so it's obviously not going to be something like super major, which is good at least. But he needs to be healthy because Dolphins do not have another actual center on the roster, and center is actually very important for the Dolphins running game. You need a super athletic guy that can cut off, 2 eyes, even 3s, get out there on the edge, make plays out in space. And that's what Brewer was brought here for. I know people want to talk about the pass protection with your center. It's not as important in the Dolphins scheme. Obviously, you have to win some one-on-ones, but you rarely get true one-on-ones as a center in pass protection just in this offense. He's really brought in because of his ability, his movement out in space, climbing to the second level, cutting people off. It's so important. Losing that really would hurt the running game. So that's why Brewer staying healthy is key. Plus, it also hurts your guard spots because then one of your guards has to play center, or depth guard has to play center, and that's tough. How's Quinn Bell playing better than Tarkevius Jones, or about the same? I'd say about the same. Is Marcus May a starter? I think May is getting starter reps with Jordan Poyer's out, because Poyer, we learned today, he's missed 6 practices in a row now, but apparently it's just like a finger injury. I think that's what his wife said on Twitter. Let me scroll up. I think I have it. Or it's his thumb. Yeah, he has a finger injury, and it's not concerning, is what his wife said. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure May and Elijah Campbell have been seeing a lot of reps with Poyer out. Skylar has always been reckless with the ball. I mean, yeah. He kind of has that play style. Even Dolphins kind of have that nature of that offense. It's a very aggressive, push the ball down the field offense. So I don't mind being a little bit reckless, but he does need to work on decision making overall. Should have re-signed Connor. Finn Fabric said didn't want to come back. Yeah, that's the thing. I've seen a lot of people being like, got to bring back Connor. I just don't think Connor Williams wanted to play here. It's not like Chris Greer just gave up. And I think Brewer is like the ideal scheme fit for this team. If we could have got Connor back as a guard, I would have loved it, but I just don't think he wanted to play guard, and I don't think he wanted to play here anymore due to, maybe not getting the money before he got injured. And we also don't know how, because he tore his ACL last year, so we don't know how that will affect him this season. It would have been nice, but just wasn't a real possibility. Let me see. Finally cut the lot, Rob. Your guards need to be able to hold up for Brewer to get the second. How'd Bonner look today? Brewer's too small. Brewer plays very powerfully, though, in the run game, at least. I think he could work in pass protection, but his size actually very much helps him in the running game. He plays with great leverage and power. And Connor's not the biggest guy either. How'd Bonner look? I'm pretty sure Bonner had a strong day. He did a good job. He was going versus Drake London a lot, apparently, and I'm pretty sure and Drake London's a very good player. Went to the same high school, but he had a pretty good back and forth battle. He looks like, he belongs out there. Okay, let me see. So excited to see Achane this year. Hell yeah, I love Achane. I'm excited to see all the running backs. I think they have a great running back room, especially for this scheme. And now, they all have the speed that you need required, to capture the edge, hit the outside zone and stuff like that. But they all have slightly different skill sets too. And then Wright brings a little more power as well. The team, Achane is just so good on space. One of the most efficient runners in the league last year. I think he was technically, statistically, the most efficient runner. Is Bonner the fourth corner after Kohu? I think it's kind of leaning that way right now, honestly, because Cam Smith returned to practice yesterday, but then apparently didn't practice today because he might have re-injured himself. So if Cam Smith isn't practicing, he's not going to... I think he might kind of lose that job. I think he would still get a chance at some point this season to see playing time. But I wouldn't be surprised if after, the top 3, because Kohu's going to play some outside, but he'll mainly be a nickel. But I would love to see when you move Ramsey around, because you're going to move Ramsey around, and Fuller moved around a little bit too. They can both play nickel. I would love to see that when you put those guys in the nickel, take Kohu off the field, and then put on a guy like Bonner. But to me, it feels like Bonner is kind of that fourth corner. At least that's what it feels like. I mean, Sierra Neal's also playing pretty good ball out there too. Who else is in the corner room? I need him if he does make the team is going to be more of a nickel / safety guy. But yeah, I think Bonner is kind of ahead right now of Cam Smith, at least throughout this training camp. The only way I think Cam Smith gets ahead is just because of draft capital, draft position does play a part, and I think how these players our coaches and things want to see him. I haven't heard much about Marcus May. You think Cam will take a spot for surprise cut? Well, no, I think the Dolphins keep 4 safeties, and I think it's going to be May, Campbell, Poyer, Holland. I feel like actually pretty confident in that. I guess things could change in the preseason. Things will definitely change in the preseason, but I feel pretty good that like those would be the 4 safeties they keep. Just makes the most sense, but we'll see. Because I think Campbell makes the team either way. What did I miss? Would you prefer Skylar as your QB2 or Mike White? I've talked about this recently. I honestly don't have a big dog in this race. I'm not super confident in either of them. Like, I think if you seriously, like, if Tua, like, legitimately went down and you needed them full time, I think you're screwed anyways. If you need them to play, like, a game or two, this is how I look at it. I think you could cut Skylar and keep him on the practice squad. But if you don't want to risk it, I'd probably keep Skylar because he's, like, more of a development project, but Mike White is probably safer in their eyes, but Skylar's having the better camp right now. But I think you could potentially, maybe you could probably even cut either of them and get them on the practice squad because you can, with the new rule this year that we talked about, you can keep one of your QBs on the practice squad and you can elevate that quarterback nonstop. There's no like 3 elevation rule where then now you have to add them to the main roster. You can now elevate them nonstop. So you really only need to keep 2 QBs on the roster now, which is great. What else? Elite wide receivers, elite running backs, elite point guard, good tackle play, all about interior. Like, and every team has weaknesses, man. Like an interior line, they chose that to be their weakness because they felt like they can scheme around it. It makes sense that it was the position they didn't put the least amount of resources into. I would have liked to add one more guard personally that was at least like a decent level player. That's at least how I felt about it. Or like one more backup center. Like, it didn't even have to be like a great center because I think there's a reason they paid Brewer that money. I do agree they should add more, and I'm still not against trading, especially with the injuries that are happening to them because there's a lot of people not practicing. We don't know who's gonna be ready for the start of the season. But yeah, interior line is the biggest problem, and it will hurt them in certain games. Certain games, I don't think it will because they do a good job of playing around it, but it will definitely hurt them at some point. But yeah, let's get back to this. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Rondell Moore got like seriously injured for the Falcons. That sucks for him, man. I hate seeing those injuries in practice. I think those are the main updates from Wingfield. Let's see, anything else? There were some good words. Grady Jarrett, I believe. This is from an Adam Beasley article that I was reading. Grady Jarrett had some pretty nice positive things to say about Tua, saying that like he deserved to get paid, he deserved to, went through overcome, the doubters, the injuries, things like that, and said that he runs, pretty damn good offense. So nice to hear that from like other players. They don't have to say those things, so it's always nice to hear some positive stuff. Chop's been looking good. I hear they put him at linebacker and send him off the center. I wonder if that's going to be a thing once Jalen. Oh yeah, I think it'll be a thing even before they get back. I think it's pretty much come up in every like training camp practice report that he's been winning from the interior on certain reps. And to me, as I've talked about it in pretty much every Chop video and every time it's come up from the reports, I think that's where Chop's biggest impact will come in year 1. I think that's kind of where the NFL has been leading to. If you watch last year, like Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, they were getting reps lined up over the center. And the Dolphins have so many edges now, especially like you said, when Jalen Chubb come back even more. In those obvious pass rush situations, aligning these guys, stand up in the A gap, B gap, whatever, they can win with their quickness and with the amount of stunts the Dolphins are going to run. It's going to be, he's going to be absolute terror on the inside. He could even do it on some running plays if he can beat them that quickly. Like, you don't want them getting hands on him in obviously those situations because then he'll struggle probably versus the run. But yeah, it's nice. Any inside O-line trade candidate? It really feels like the only one right now that's been I've seen mentioned. I mean, it's not like a rumor or anything. I just know people have been mentioned. Is James Daniels from the Steelers because the Steelers drafted a bunch of O-linemen. Also, they might be trading for IU, giving him a big contract, so maybe they want to, try to save money. And then he's also a pretty good scheme fit for the Dolphins. It'd be the one I would make if the deal was pretty solid. But we don't know if the Steelers actually want to trade him. And then I'm sure there's probably some other ones if I looked at some other teams that I could potentially find. That's kind of what I heard. What's up, Scotty? Yeah, safety room stuff. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit ago. Cameron Wolf posted like the exact Tua numbers on his stuff. It seems like he said, let's see if there's anything new. Got to pull Tua's new contract now, a 5-year, $235 million deal. Max value is $244.571. 171 in total guarantees over first 4 years. 132 practically fully guaranteed over first 3 years. 42 mil sign bonus, and then he's had 2 void years for cap purposes. So that makes sense. The Dolphins had void years. They've been doing a lot of that. Was there any more injuries besides Brewer? And then we got the Poyer update. It's his thumb, but it's not concerning. Brooks came back, which is great. I believe Anthony Walker's still out, but he was saying those are kind of minor. It does seem like most of the Dolphins' injuries are minor at this point, which is good. As long as it seems like they're having a lot of them, but it's at least nothing like super major yet. We'll see what Brewers is like. Brewers is big. It's a hand injury. And to me, a hand injury, it can be a problem, but it could, at least it's not like the most major thing it could be, Then we have a bunch of cap space. Yeah, we definitely, well, the problem with I'll talk about this. With the cap space, we have like 36 million, but next year we're going to be like, depending on how much, cap it gets raised, we're going to be at like 40 something million, like over the cap. So we have to, restructure a bunch of contracts, cut some people. So we're probably going to want to carry some of that over. But yeah, we definitely have room to at least make one move. That's like a decent sized move. But other than that, I don't see them making any like thing major outside of like one. What's up, Zim? How you doing? I'm doing pretty good today. I think if they're going to run that scheme, who's the second outside linebacker? Bell and Agba. I bet Kamara gets a lot of reps. You think it's too much on the rookies? I mean, usually I would say, well, for me, no. I like to get the rookies in there early, but I think for teams, they like to, keep things a little slower, and it makes sense. But with the injuries, they're going to have to see playing time early. Probably both of them. I mean, Chop will definitely see playing time early. Camaro will probably see playing time early. But yeah, I'm guessing Agba will see reps both at like, the 5 tech as well and on the edge. And then also you have guys like Calais Campbell that can give you big guy edge reps. Like he played a lot of edge last year. So if you need that out of him, you're going to see a lot of guys moving around. Still a lot of Chop's reps will come off the edge, but I think you'll see like multiple, like a handful of reps a game still of him standing up in the interior. Of the Steelers get IU can facilitate Daniels trade for cap space. We got the 5th most. Yeah. Brewer, I'm hearing, was a cut. Hopefully, it's nothing serious. He did come back out on the field. Like, he didn't practice, but he came back out. So that's usually a decent sign. But we'll see. What about Cam Smith? He didn't practice today. I think he re-injured, which is honestly the worst case scenario for him. And I mean, the DB room is still fine without him, but like this is his best chance to actually see some playing time and kind of earn that stuff. I was hoping the Patriots would get Ayuk. Honestly, I didn't really want any of them to get Ayuk because I'm like, I'd rather just have him stay in the NFC. Because it was like, I don't want the Steelers or Browns to get better because they're both like potential playoff teams that you got to play them, fight for wildcard spot if that's where it ends up. And then the Patriots, I don't think are a threat, but I'm like, I also don't want them in the division, And would you go for an O-line player or safety? I'd be adding O-line. I was a big proponent of adding safety. And then they added, I think when we got that added cap space from Howard, I'm pretty sure the first thing they did was add safety with Marcus May. And Poyer's injury is not serious. So I don't think they need to add a safety. After this year, they'll need to add a safety, though. They definitely, I think, should prioritize adding a decent safety after this year. But right now, I would go after O-line. Any word on? I haven't seen anything on Ezukanma. It just seems like his timetable is kind of indefinite right now. We have no clue. That's high pick next year. Why am I seeing question? They might. I think people might be concerned with injuries or something. I'm not sure. I think safety room is fine as well. It's probably the one I feel very confident about it when I look at the room. Just like I'm like, okay, those guys will make like the roster. Some of the other position groups have some questions that I'm like, okay, who's going to make the roster there? Who's going to win that spot? Did they say what happened to Rondell Moore? It hasn't been. I don't think it's been reported yet, unless it just happened. But I believe that like he even had like a cast put on or something. Like it seemed fairly serious. Like from all the reports, people were like, yeah, it looks very serious, which absolutely sucks, man. I was a big fan of Rondell Moore coming out of college. I mean, he was a very fun player to watch in college out of Purdue. Yeah, Mike has not been saying anything. He has just been saying they're minor, so. Brad, do you think Justin Simmons could be an option if Poyer's more? I doubt it. I think if the Dolphins wanted to bring in Justin Simmons, they probably would have done it when we signed May and just brought in Simmons instead. It depends what the price is. But I've been seeing like Simmons is meeting with the Saints. He's, had a good meeting with like the Colts. So like I'm pretty sure he's going to sign somewhere else. And from what Poyer's wife said, it's just a thumb injury and it's not concerning at all. So I think he'll be fine. Plus, he doesn't really need to practice anyways. Like that guy's a veteran. I'm not worried about that. Malik Washington, big day. Love seeing Malik have big days, man. I'm one of the players I'm most excited. I'm excited to see the whole rookie class in preseason, but Malik for sure, because I definitely know what to expect out of some of the other guys. I think, I want to see Malik. I want to see Patrick Paul with, some new technique, see how that looks. I kind of know what to expect from Chop and Wright, but I'm excited to see them in first action as well. And it will be interesting. Is Simmons washed? No, he's still pretty good. He's not like, he's actually still really good. At least the last time I watched him, which was last year I watched some film on him and he was still quite good, yeah. He's definitely not washed, but he wouldn't be like a long-term option. Even though the receiver room's loaded, any hope we bring back X? I don't think so. I don't think X wants to come back, and I don't think the Dolphins should bring him back. I think that would only happen if the Dolphins had a bunch of injuries. Because really the only way, he just wants too much money too, I know it. Ramsey and Fuller would be your starters, I guess, unless you wanted to see him on the outside when Ramsey's on the inside. But I'd rather just roll with the young guys, to be honest. Burying Malik in the depth chart was a fake out. Yeah, and if you look at it, all the rookies are pretty much buried, like all the way back they can be, That's kind of what, and most people do that with their depth charts. The rookies are all the way on the back end. And I just don't take, most of those they're unofficial and it's pretty much not to be taken seriously. Let's see, anything else that I saw today? I have this, yeah. Brewer walked back outside and is watching practice. We'll see severity of injury. That's what Barry said. Omar said Ethan Bonner versus Drake London all day, and it looks like Bonner belongs. When you face Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle daily, who exactly do you fear? Bonner getting back at it with London. And honestly, from all those videos, like there's that video yesterday, right, of Bonner like punching out the fumble. I don't know if you guys saw that. Or he like punched out the ball for like their PBU. He was doing it on the ones even he didn't punch. Like he's playing for the ball. And he just looks smoother. Like he was always really good athletically, but some players just look uncomfortable at times. And I think that was a problem with Bonner last year, especially in transition. Like I think he played like too far over his toes. Like his balance and bend seemed off at times. Like you could clearly see that he had the ability to change directions and be explosive, but it just wasn't like technique-wise the best. And he just looks way more comfortable in every clip I've seen of him so far. So excited to see Bonner in live action. And I think he could see some legitimate reps this season. Because when he played last year, like legitimate reps, he made plays. He got it done. Well, Edward, in my opinion, Green needs to spend inside to win now versus saving 25 mil for next year. Well, we have 36, so you can still get O-line and save probably over 25 mil for next year. You know what I'm saying? But there's just not really. You would have to trade for one to like get someone like legitimately that can make a difference. You need to trade for someone. I've been hearing McMorris has been producing. Honestly, I haven't heard that. And I don't think teams would trade for him, to be honest. Owner is a freak athlete. Miss anything important? Basically, there was an Aaron Brewer injury, hand injury, but we don't know the severity of it. First team O definitely struggled today. It seemed like the offensive line really struggled today. First team offensive line, which obviously they have backups in because Armstead wins out, Brewer got hurt. And they've been moving around. Like I know certain practices, Kendall Lamb plays left tackle, certain practices he plays right tackle. Keon Smith will play left tackle when that happens, but then sometimes he's playing guard. So they're moving people around a lot. It makes sense that the O-line's struggling. Like I wouldn't say I'm like super worried yet, but there's definitely concerns to be had with the O-line. We already had it before those reports. But in real game time, it won't be as big of a deal, but they will definitely be negatives at certain points in the year, but not every single game. Anything else? I know Jalen Wright had a good day. Malik Washington had a good day. I know some of the second teamers kind of stood out. Defensively, who was I saying earlier? I think the defense kind of started slow, but then responded. Some of the DBs made some plays out there, like Bonner, Kohu, Elijah Campbell, things like that. Why Liam's such a bust? Liam's not a bust. Everyone was saying the same thing about Austin this time last year. Yeah, I wouldn't say. I think, a lot of fans stick with, like, it's hard to really overturn a first year like that in the eyes of the fans unless you, like, completely 180, I do think Liam is a fine depth piece. I don't think he should be a starter by any means. I want to say that. But I'm not as, like, negative. I think he can be a fine backup right guard. I think he did pretty decent at right guard in a lot of the games last year. But he shouldn't be a full-time starter either. Definitely not someone they should have taken in the second round, say that. But he's not like a huge bust, like he can't play, doesn't belong in the league type player either. He was that early on in his career, though. Last year, he was better. More specifically, I'm hearing early line can't handle stunts or blitz. Yeah, it seems like the pressure packages are really getting to them. And I want to see what kind of... It's tough because I want to see what the play calls are on those plays, because I wonder if it's like they're doing their typical like play action, slide the whole line to the right, maybe pull an offensive lineman the opposite way, or are they going more basic with their play calls to, one, not give anything away, and two, maybe like give your guys more true one-on reps where it makes it harder on them. So maybe that's why, they're really struggling. That could also play into it, but we'll see. You think this defense can be... I think so. I think they have the talent for it. I just think it really just comes down to... They definitely have the talent to be a top defense in the league. It comes down to the players buying into the scheme and Weaver like really, really doing a good job. It really just comes down to that. But yeah, it's just like, who do you really bring in at O-line right now that legitimately can make a difference and you actually can get, It's very difficult to find those players anyways. Someone tweeted out, yeah, people were tweeting about Jonnu's usage, how he's being used in so many different ways. I'm very excited to see Jonnu get moved around a lot. Motions, jet motions, being lined up in the backfield, things like that. Yeah, lots of Malik Washington mentions from Mike White there. That's what I was reading. Dolphins got in multiple fights. Seems like the defense was starting fights today by hitting very hard, and then like Ray McLeod threw a punch apparently. It's tough to see in like the videos because the scrum is like very on the far end of the field from where people were recording, so you can't really see much. But yeah. Let's see. Glowinski, yeah, I mean, that might be someone who could... It's not a bad shot. Like, he's someone who belongs in the league, but he's not like a, for this point in the cycle of picking up players, it's not a bad pickup, but he's still not someone I see making like a huge difference, but he would be nice to have around. Won't Jonnu be a tell for the defense? What do you mean? Like, that it's going to be like a passing play, or... I think they're going to use him in a very versatile way. I think he's literally going to line all over the field, and then they're probably going to run multiple different plays out of those packages. So I'm imagining it might have the opposite effect, depending on how McDaniels uses him. Yeah, the guard to trade for Pitt Daniels. We talked about that earlier. That's kind of the name that we've seen thrown around, James Daniel, but we just don't know if the Steelers actually want to trade him away, you know? Lamb was practicing at right tackle today. McDaniel spoke to Liam's multiplicity. Yeah, I saw that Lamb was practicing at right tackle, and I think Keon was getting more of the left tackle reps because they've been like moving people around, you know, which makes sense in when that type of things happens because Lamb's like your first swing tackle. I'm not super worried about the tackle position. I think you're pretty good there with Armstead and Lamb and Jackson and Keon Smith and even Patrick Paul you drafted, who's been looking better than expected. I think you're fine at the tackle spot. Interior line's where we got the troubles. I'm fine with Ike as a backup and don't want him to start. Yeah, I agree. Appreciate you, Derek. Love the elite analysis. Looking forward to all the content during the season. Almost 9K. Woo. Yeah, I'm excited too. It's almost that time, you know? How do I wish I could like pop. I need to figure out how to like pop these messages up on the screen, the ones that like I'm gonna read out, you know? But appreciate you, Derek. You're a legend. But yeah, when the content during the season, it's almost here. This will be my last like stream before it because I don't think there's practice tomorrow, so I'm not gonna stream then. But then I'm gonna stream during the preseason game. That'll be fun. And then during the preseason game, I'll try to figure out more of the stuff, like the setups, the layouts of it. And then after that, when the film comes out, we're doing breakdowns. Back to breakdowns. We got new film to look at, see who kind of shines, you know, players that are kind of, you know, the rookies getting first their action, and then guys who are on like the edge of the roster. People we just haven't. I'm gonna Quentin Bell. I want to see Quentin Bell in live action. Actually watch some film and do a film breakdown on Quentin Bell because I haven't been able to do that yet. And there's a few other players like that. So I am. Yeah. What's my subscriber count now? I am almost at 9K. Let's see. It's at 19 more. Yeah. I think that was pretty much Isaiah. Oh yeah, Omar Kelly was tweeting about Isaiah Johnson today, pancaking a Falcon on punt return unit. I'd be pretty surprised if he made the team though. That'd be a shocking win to me. But I guess if he has a special teams impact, they could keep him around as practice squad. If this was a video of Tua on the move, one of the only positives, right? I think it's this one that I saw earlier. Yeah, step up in the pocket, fighting Craig Kraft, rolling across, hit him in the chest, yeah. Whoop. I'm hearing Keon Smith is struggling. Yeah, I've seen some of those reports, but I think it's because he's been playing at guard, man. I just don't think he's a guard. Like, if you watch him in preseason last year, like, he's so much better at tackle compared to guard, but I think they're really just trying to see if he can play guard potentially. We'll see. I have this feeling Waddle's gonna have a monster year, maybe even start to surpass Hill. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if their numbers are much closer this season, especially if they both stay healthy, obviously. I found your channel during Van Ginkel's film breakdown last year. Instant fan. Appreciate you, troll away. I think we might start seeing more and more starters come off the pup and practicing during the next two preseason games / practices. Yeah, I'm sure that we'll start seeing more practices. There's no reason to rush any of the starters into the preseason games. Like, I don't even think we need to play a lot of them in the preseason games, to be honest. Like, any of them. Maybe get a series out of them or two, but for the most part, I think we can focus on some of the younger guys. Surprised Mayer didn't fill in and let 74 stay right guard. Well, I think Mayer got more work after Brewer got hurt, but I don't think he was seeing like first team stuff. Heard good things about Cam Brown. Yeah, Cam Brown made some plays today. He's a guy that I kind of want to check out too because he doesn't have much NFL film, so I'm kind of want to see him. Like, I know we can expect good special teams things out of him, but I'm excited to see how he's used in the preseason games because I think he's a guy that's kind of a tweener, has a skill set where he can play at the end of the line of scrimmage, but also a little bit of off ball, more of like a Sam type. And the Dolphins don't really have that in their linebacker room right now. So I wonder if he sneaks onto the end of the roster. Craig Kraft making the roster. Yeah, I think Craig Kraft makes it. Easy gets cut. Yeah, I mean, It depends. Easy might, with the injury he has, he might just be on an injury list at the start of the season, so technically he won't even need to be cut if that's the case. Giants and Lions got fined 2K for fighting. Yeah, you guys see that fighting video? Neighbors like, I think like kind of hit Kirby and like a little bit of a drive-by in the head or something like that, and then Kirby Joseph hit him with the 4-piece combo. I don't know why. Like, if you're gonna fight, like, why are you throwing punches at a helmet though? Like, especially 4 in a row. I feel like that probably hurts you more than them. I think Chubb, Good, and Wynn stay season on IL, and only Phillips and OBJ come off. Start season. Start season on yeah. Yeah, some real punches thrown. I didn't see the fight. Oh yeah, there was some. I mean, they had helmets on, but like he legitimately like hit him with like four big punches almost to the head, like, but had a helmet on. It was pretty funny. But I think he has like the what's it called on, right? I think he got some to like that foam padding, so probably I guess it might not hurt that much. Chubb, Good, yeah. I think Good definitely they'll keep on the injury list because I don't think they want to use a roster spot for him. Chubb as well because I don't think he's ready. And then Wynn probably too, but we just have no idea. We haven't heard nothing about Wynn's injury. Hopefully he's ready though. That'd be great. Yeah, I think Chubb won't play the first few games of the season for sure. I think Phillips could be active, but I think they're going to slow him back into it. Like, I think he could be active and just be like few snaps here and there. Maybe he's on the starting roster, but then he's inactive for a game or two too as well. That could be the case. But yeah, they don't need to rush him back. Because, I mean, I've said it before. I think Phillips is a very, very good player. I think he's kind of underrated around the league. Like you look at the top 100 last year, Chubb was like 60 something. I thought Phillips was better than Chubb. I thought Phillips was honestly our best defender for a majority of the season when he was healthy. But yeah, you don't really need to rush him back, especially if Quinn Bell is actually able to give you like decent reps. You have guys who can play. You have the rookies. You have Ogba who can give you reps on the edge. You even have Campbell who can give you reps on the edge. You got, Chop, Kamara, those types of players. And then Quinn Bell, who was kind of like the surprise of camp, which should be interesting. Bleed to the shins is where I'd go. I think what's been killing us is debt. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know people will talk about the end of last year. And, you don't want to make excuses, but the Dolphins had, like, even if their best player, like, yes, you wanted better play calling from McDaniel. You wanted Tua to play better. You wanted the O-line to play better. You wanted pretty much everyone all around to play better. But the Dolphins hadn't, with the amount of injuries they had no chance of winning the Super Bowl. The season was over. Like, they had so many people out. Obviously, you'd like to see your players step up and play better, but that pretty much no one was overcoming that. This team has 6 good edges. I don't see 6 being kept. I see like 5 being kept. But I think Chubb will start on the injury list. So that's why I think if you're counting Chubb as one of the 6, then yeah, I see those 5 still making the team. If you're talking about, plus Ogba could technically be a part of the D-line room. We've talked about that a little bit, but I'm guessing you're talking about Phillips, Chop, Kamara, Ogba, Chubb, and then Bell. And also, I would like to see Grayson Murphy kept around. I'm guessing it's more of a practice squad thing, but I'm a big Grayson Murphy fan. He's made some impact plays in some of these games. Yeah, we exercised Phillips' 5th year, so. But you want to I think you probably want to, they probably will wait to see what his health looks like this season, but going into next season, like next offseason, you're probably going to try to want to get him extended and then, not use the 5th year option, because sometimes those 5th years options can be pretty expensive. So you probably just want to extend him, move that money around. It just makes your caps more flexible. Still salty about Van Ginkel getting dumped, yeah. I just don't think they wanted to pay him. Like, because he made like $10 million a year or something like that. But yeah, I would love to keep Van Ginkel around. I'm a big Andrew fan. Big fan of Van Ginkel. 5 edges, 5D. Well, I think we probably they're gonna keep 5D tackles. I'm pretty sure because the Ravens rotation. Last year the Ravens basically used like a 3-man rotation at edge, sometimes 4, and then they used a 5-man rotation at the interior D tackle. And then D tackle, if I had to guess, they could even keep. It depends where you put Ogba as well, because Ogba could technically give you some of the D line reps too in the 3-4 as like a 3-4 edge, and he can also play, just as a true edge as well. But Sealer, Benito Jones, Campbell, Tier Tart, and then like Deshaun Hand, Jonathan Harris, or Neville Gallimore. But I feel pretty good about Sealer, Tart, Campbell, and I think Benito Jones is the first ahead of the rest of the other guys, because he can play as a nose in a 1-tech. 20 million for AVG? Yeah, but it was 2 years, 20 million, right? So 10 million a year. I think. Hello? I think it just said my OBS got disconnected. Am I here? Okay, yeah, I think I'm still good. I think I might have lagged out for a second, but we should be good. Yeah, I'd rather kept AVG. Yeah, I understand. I think AVG, out of the people we let go, Wilkins and Hunt, you could have kept them technically, but it really would have hurt your cap flexibility in the years to come with the people you already extended. But it was just too expensive for them. They got paid so much. I think Van Ginkel was the one you probably could have kept, and you still would have been fine. And it would have made sense too. Like the hat, right? Oh yeah, I love this hat. Because it's not like a specific Dolphins hat. Like I have some Dolphins hats, with like the logos, throwback ones. I kind of like this one because, it doesn't have to be a Dolphins hat, but it is at the same time. You are buffering? Yeah. Dude, it literally said, I've never gotten that message before on my screen. It said my frames dropped really bad. At least that's what it says. I don't know what all of it means, I would have loved to have kept Hunt and AVG. Yeah. It just was so expensive, man. You can't pay. I mean, Wilkins got a crazy amount of money. Hunt got 20 million a year. That would have hurt. And they were definitely good picks, good players. Some of the better picks that we've had, really. Especially Van Ginkel was a great 4th rounder. Hunt, great in the 2nd. See, you're iffy about D-tackle number 5. Yeah, I don't know who the 5th will be. And it depends who they're adding to each room, because I think Ogba would count it as an edge. But yeah. I kind of did the math earlier. Like, I went through the roster earlier and kind of just did the count in my head. And I just counted the guys that I'm like, okay, this is for sure, like, the number of people they're like the least amount they're going to keep at each position, or like what I'm expecting exactly. And there was still, and I did that and I got to 50 spots. So there were still like 3 spots and we're like, okay, they can keep an extra person at 3 spots, but I kind of went under on like one of them. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. I'll do a 53-man chart once we get close to the season. Hunt was injured. Yeah. Dude, well, that's just the nature of free agency. People get paid a lot of money once they hit the over market. And there's a reason the Dolphins weren't able to get a bunch of guards. It's not a very stacked position. People are desperate to find good guard play. And I think the Dolphins were like, it's a hard position to come by. You have to overpay for it. And they're like, I'd rather overpay in different areas because we can kind of we don't have the money to overpay. That's why they made smart deals, which I like the moves they made. I actually do think this offseason, some of the free agent moves and some of the draft moves they make were some of the best moves I've seen the front office have in a very long time. But it's hard to find good guard play, and if you want one in free agency, you have to overpay like crazy. That's why I was saying I would have drafted one in the first 2 days, personally. That's probably where I would have changed something they did. But yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Ogba will be on the team. Well, I heard Skylar was having better camps, but not today. Today was a better Mike White day, I think. Yeah, Wilkins was going to get paid. He reminds me when, yeah, well, I did not want to pay Olivier Vernon. I was not like, if you go watch Olivier Vernon, he had a lot of sacks that one season that got him paid, but he was not super productive beforehand. If you really go and watch his film, a lot of his like sacks came off initial Cam Wake pressures, and he would like get cleanup sacks. That's why I think stats kind of like can overrate players in the NFL at specific positions. Really edge. Sometimes players get overrated due to sacks, and if you go and watch their sacks, then it's like, oh wait, majority of their sacks came from someone else getting initial plays. Yeah, I was not. I understood why Wilkins got paid. Vernon was not one that I really understood. Ryder, did you do a short vid on the Tua contract breakdown? No, I just did a live stream on it. I mean, you probably don't need to watch the whole thing. If you wanted to see it, I'd literally probably just watch the start of it. I talk. You'll probably get all the details in the first 10 minutes of it anyways. I think I just start rambling after that, you know? I don't know. I like the chop and Patrick. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand why they said chop. I think taking chop was a very smart move. I've talked about it. I was also not high on Patrick Paul, but it does sound like he's doing better than expected. There's still a lot to be seen there. Like, we still don't know. Like, we still haven't seen any of these guys in live action. Like, things can change drastically, but it has been very positive so far. But I would have used the second round pick on a guard instead. But we'll see how it plays out. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is just like a stream, and then the streams go for a while. These are really the only ones that get long where we just talk about randomness, you know? All my film breakdowns are typically... I think the longest film breakdown I ever made was like 25 minutes, which was too long, but sometimes there's too many plays. Doubling up on Chop and Mo is going to turn out... Yeah, especially with what happened with like Barrett. And with the injuries, obviously. Oh, it's yeah. I think. I thought you were high on a center or OT instead of Chop. Well, I think when we initially drafted him, I wanted. Fatanu was my draft crush. So I really wanted Troy Fatanu, but Fatanu went one pick before us. So like I would have taken Fatanu. That was like the thing that came down to. And then I would have considered after that, like really, dude, that's where the draft screwed us because no corners. If you go back and watch the draft, no corner, not a single corner went before we picked. If one corner went, because all the QBs went, and we were like, oh, that was good. But then all the corners went, and that was where I was like, oh, now it's just down to like some of the top guys that I thought could potentially fall to us all went. So then at that point, it was either trade back, Chop Robinson, Tyler Guyton, or Graham Barton. That was like who I thought they were going to take. And I would have been down for any of them, but Graham Barton was one of my favorite players. I thought Graham Barton was one of the safest players in the draft. He's a guy who could play center, guard, anything for you. But I wasn't mad with the chop pick. It was more Patrick Paul that was like, ugh. But he's playing better than expected, so that's good. But I just don't think he's going to see playing time really this year at all. That's the big thing. Even if he does outperform expectations, it's not like we're going to really see him until next year, unless many injuries happen, which would suck. Yeah, Graham Barton. Probably could have got him in a trade back too, but the chop pick definitely was the right move, I think. I just think second round they could have gone guard. I was not a fan of Barton. Well, Barton's an absolute stud. That guy is really good, in my opinion. But yeah, the Fatanu one was heartbreaking because that guy... I've heard that he's already switched to right tackle for the Steelers. Like, he played left tackle and even like left guard for Washington, and I've heard he's already like playing really well at right tackle already. And like sometimes switching sides for a line is very difficult. Like some guys can never do it, like play on the opposite side of the offensive line. JPP has JPJ, yeah. Barton could have played anywhere. I don't think they were going to take JPJ. I think he has an injury history that kind of people were turned off by. I do think they could have been interested in Barton, but I just don't think they were ever going to take an interior O line in the first round at that point, unless they traded back maybe. I think Fatanu was one they could have taken because Fatanu was someone who could potentially he would have played guard for you, but then potentially played tackle down the line. I like that receiver the Jags drafted too, Thomas. Yeah, Brian Thomas is pretty good too. They weren't going to take a receiver that high. There's good receivers every year. I do think you should add receiver in every draft though. We just haven't had a lot of picks in a long time. I think next year, right? Next year we have a lot of picks. Finally, needed that. We went on last year we finally had some more picks, but the 2 years before that it was 4 picks in each draft and no first rounders. It was torture for me, a draft person. Driscoll seems like a wasted roster spot. Well, I think Driscoll is a guy that could back up all the interior spots. Honestly, I'd rather keep Jack Driscoll over Eichenberg. I just think he's a better scheme fit. Let me see. Let me look at the roster. If we keep 10, my guess for the 10 would be because you usually keep 9 or 10 O linemen. It's obviously going to be Armstead, Isaiah Wynn. If he's on the roster, he could technically start on an injury list, so that might be an extra spot. If he starts on the pup, then you can keep an extra O lineman. But Armstead, Brewer as well, who just got injured, which sucks. Robert Jones, Austin Jackson, Kendall Lamb, Patrick Paul, and then I think Keon Smith, Jack Driscoll, and Eichenberg would be like the 10, right? Because I don't think Hayes or Cotton or Harlow or Meyer make it as of right now. But I guess things can change in the preseason. I agree. Driscoll has been disappointing. Yeah, he's been forced to play center. I mean, really, they should be playing Driscoll at right guard. When I see the Packers, I was a big fan of Jordan Morgan. That's good. He was a good player. He's a guy that played guard too, I think. Very athletic, very technically sound. I'm always a fan of a guy that's very athletic and very technically sound. Let's see. I think, yeah, there's no practice tomorrow, right? I don't think there is, at least from what I've seen. So I probably won't stream tomorrow, and then we'll return for the preseason, and then we're into the breakdowns. Thank God, need that. Meyer or Harlow can, yeah, they technically can. Plus, also one of those spots. Literally, I would not be surprised if one of those spots is for someone who is not on the team currently. You know, but yeah, they could. I guess they could surprise, especially if like Wynn starts on the pup and then like Brewer is still injured. You know, and they want to keep an extra center around. But we'll see. We shall see. At least the preseason, we're almost there, man. We're almost there, thank God. I agree, maybe even 2 more. We need you streaming. Well, no, I'll be streaming. I'm just not streaming tomorrow. But then once... there's no practice tomorrow, but yeah. I'm going to stream during the game. I don't know if I'm going to stream during the games this season. I've never done that before where, like, you know, people stream during the games, you know, it's almost like watching with someone. Like, obviously you have it on your own screen. I can't show the games or I'd get my channel shut down. But I think I'm going to stream during the preseason games just to see what it's like. Is that a lamp behind you? Oh, this thing? This right behind my head? Like, no, that's a mic. That's the mic. I'm on a different mic right now. I use a different mic for streaming. That's like when I record my film breakdowns, I'm usually sitting at this desk. That's like the filter, pop filter thing up top that you can pull down. A lot of the guys stream the games for Miami. Yeah, I might try it out. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna stream tomorrow. But I think it'll be fun to like stream during the preseason games just to like talk about it live, and then we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I also kind of like just watching the games. I'm thinking Robert Jones is going to be the beast this year. He might be the best of the guard group right now. Can you play? Yeah, that's why I was gonna do the preseason thing, just because I know it's a lot harder to find the preseason games, and I have NFL Plus because that's where I have to get the film now. So yeah. The worst part is I used to be able to get the film early. That's why I'd post my film breakdowns the next day after the game. But now I think I have to wait till if the games are on Sundays, I have to get film breakdowns out on Tuesdays because it takes 24 hours for the film to come out, which sucks. So the days after, we'll just have to, maybe stream and talk about it or something. Like during the actual season. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I'm going to play by play it, I'm not going to be like an announcer, but I'll talk through it and be like, see the things that I'm seeing. We'll definitely focus on specific players that we like, guys that we haven't had a ton of eyes on yet. Did you get in trouble? What, for posting it early? No, I didn't actually. I never got caught. No, there was just like this, basically, just I have like this other job. I was getting it from like this like internship I was doing, like the film very early. But yeah. But then I have this other job, conflict of interest, so then I can't use that other site, which is unfortunate. I said, oh yeah. I don't know how to say his name. That's why I ignored it. I don't know how to say his name, yeah. Olu. Writer, YouTube is not a job for you, right? I mean, it's like I guess it's not really. I mean, it's kind of like a part-time job, I guess. I make some money off of it. But it's definitely not like a full-time job or anything. It's basically stuff I just do for fun. It's something I would do anyways, but it's now I just get people to watch it and stuff. Yeah, I think that'll be it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys to the preseason game.